The Struggling Artist Record Club is a vinyl record subscription service where I hunt and curate the best punk and punk-adjacent music out there and mail their record to your door each and every month. Imagine finding your new favorite band from across the country without ever having to leave the house. It doesn't get much better than that. The excitement of discovering new music just got that much easier. As a member of the Struggling Artist Record Club, you are going to receive some of the best music you've ever heard from bands you may never even heard of. Whether you've been collecting records for years or just starting out, the Struggling Artist Record Club is designed specifically for you. And right now, all new members get a Struggling Artist Record Club exclusive along with the monthly selection. So head to StrugglingArtistRecordClub.com, pick a membership, and start building that collection today. Jesse, when did we started talking about this in like end of March, beginning of April,
something like that.
When we we were talking about just music in general, and you were talking about you had a band, and I mentioned the podcast thing, and like one of the things is like you sent me the links to listen to your guys' stuff, and I so hard not to give, like, I was like, I want to talk to you about it, but I got to wait until the podcast. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So I just had to like kind of keep it in, and I'm like, oh, so, but I'm happy we're finally doing this. And Mark and Scott, it's nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you as well.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So I want to start. I mean, we're going to start. How do you guys all know each other? Like, have you guys been friends forever? Has this been
let me actually take it from here, right? Because I just got a quick little starting. Like, obviously, these two are brothers, Mark and Scott Lyman, so they've known each other from the beginning. But Mark, I moved here from Tennessee in 1993, and me and Mark were on a Little League baseball team together when we were little kids. And but we didn't really reconnect until we were way older. But Scott, did you want to jump back in with your little...
Yeah, well, they were absolutely closer. I'm 6 years younger than both of them. So as as we all grew up, it was kind of the two of them. They even lived together at one point in Boston post college and everything like that. I was always kind of on the outskirts of it a little bit, but the passion for music was really there. So over the years, as I came into my own and was actually seen as an adult, it started to go in that direction. And I was always trying to poach Jesse. I was like, I need to get you into my sphere. I have all this music. You know what I mean? I'm trying to push. I'm a piano player, but I'm also kind of a drummer, whatever. But, I need your sensibilities. I feel like we could really gel. And life got in the way a lot. We were pushing this out in 2017. I had like a solo album kind of thing I was trying to push out, aside from my progressive funk band that I knew and deep down was never going to go anywhere. So I was really trying to get Jesse in with me. And I feel like, I don't know, there was a few occurrences that happened where we just like kind of became closer, and then we actually started just like this as a garage band during the pandemic. You know what I mean? Like, we were both searching. Everyone's depressed. Everyone's looking for an outlet. Everyone's looking for anything at all. And then, and we found that, if we just like literally went into his garage, decked it out in crazy, crazy decor, ensconced ourselves in nerd culture and the love of music, that we could finally start to create together. And I feel like our first real collaboration, I mean, there was a couple little over the years, but our first real collaboration was putting up the decorations on the wall. We're like, are you sure you want that to go there? Are you sure that should go right
Yeah.
there? And we're like, wait a minute. Then we like stood back against our like, finished product of a gorgeous wall of ridiculous nerd
I
culture.
mean,
And
to
we're like,
cut in
wow,
for a
we might,
moment, like these
yeah,
two guys are kind of like come from a family where they do over the top decorating. I mean, you have to imagine a
Yeah, I had some
wall.
legendary rooms in
yes,
day.
Exactly. I
Also, by
mean,
the
they're
way,
like by the time it's done, they're like enchanted forests.
yes.
yes. And Jesse and I were on the same baseball team in the 6th grade.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it started there. It started there. But
To
yes,
answer your question,
our first real collaboration was that room, and then that transferred over. I mean, because there's always it's a really the process of writing songs together of real collaboration is is so intimate and it's so close. You got to like find that with whoever you're with, and we had that for years here and there, but it was kind of my project. I was trying to bring them in on. But real pure collaboration came in that room, in the garage, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we started just writing music. Frankly, where we were at that point mentally was in a darker place because it's a pandemic. You're
Right.
just trying to escape. I was a new dad, and it's just like you and I had to like I had I think two of my bands died with the pandemic.
Yeah.
And suddenly I'm just like sitting in my parents' house just being like, what the hell happened to all of it? So we really started to build the stronghold, from that, just this metaphysical space where we can really, really start to explore our emotions, and really just like start getting them down. And that's grown from there. And I'll be honest, like all these years later, I feel like the collaboration that we share is it's become so cohesive and it's become so fluid that it's like two people finishing each other's sentences, but more like musically, that like that sort of thing. And where Mark comes in after that is, I've always, we've always wanted him to be a part of this. He's also a piano player. He's also a musician in general. He went to Berkeley, Mark, and things like that. So we another piece of the puzzle. You know what I mean? It's just like we don't have a rhythm section. We don't have this and that. We've always,
Been
dreamt
a
of the, one
duo.
of those
Yeah.
yeah, one of those glockenspiel bands where you have the little glockenspiel going in the background with, you know what I mean? And
fill the
we
void.
we
I fill the
exactly
void.
fill the void. So, we brought him in only about a year ago, and just, we have a drum pad going, and sometimes he's cueing a drum beat that we've already recorded, things like that, and then he's free to do everything else, whether it's be,
Or I'm just rocking
shakers
the
or
drums.
yeah, or just rocking the drums, exactly. So, we're just we're filling the pieces. I also have a Moog, and he'll fill in bass lines on that, things like that. We don't have an actual bass player, but every time every one of those boxes is checked, you know what I mean? Where the bass is happening right now. There is a full drum beat. There is full happening, Jesse's singing, playing guitar, and I have the keyboards going. It is in our minds it is magical. It's amazing. So we're trying to chase that right now.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Now, Mark and Scott, did you guys grow up in like a musical household? Like, is you know what I mean? Like, was music a big part
Yeah.
of like, the family and everything?
Our
Yeah,
parents, well, tell them, Mark. I mean, what did we grow up with musically with our parents?
the big Beach Boys, like
Yeah.
big Beach Boys.
Dude, the
Huge Beach
Lymans
Boys
were
house.
Beach Boys bootleggers.
Yeah,
We literally like
Smile.
had every B-side, every little, like when,
Not the old Beach Boys, like theirs, like the late '60s Beach Boys, early
yeah,
Beach
'70s.
Boys, Beach
the
Boys
heyday.
evangelists.
Like, they came out with a movie the other day, or few years
The
ago,
other day.
called Love and Mercy. The other day, they came out with a movie a couple years ago called Love and Mercy about Brian Wilson, the main songwriter of the Beach Boys, and it's about his story about creating Pet Sounds and Smile and all of his biggest creative endeavors. That really was changing the face of history musically in the late '60s. When we watched that movie, it felt, I'm sure, like to me and Mark, that we were watching like a home movie because we knew the story so well. You know what I mean? We grew up with it. So the harmonies and the composition is something that we've just like always had. It's just always a part of our life.
Yeah, I started playing piano in high school.
Yeah. And I started at the same time, but I was 6 years younger than him. So,
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And,
you
and
know,
Jesse, what about you? Like when did you like start playing guitar, start singing, writing songs?
For me, I'm kind of like, I'm really a singer at heart. It all started with that. I'm kind of like that classic story of first time a microphone was put in my hand. I was like 5 years old at a family reunion in Texas and sang All My Exes Live in Texas for, 100 random family members. And the reaction that I got, it was just, that was it. I was just like, okay, I'm a singer now. But it's
yes.
always been singing. So, since I was really little. And then it went towards trumpet, like fourth grade. I played trumpet all through high school. And then guitar came later. Like I really wanted to play in bands. And I started going to like local punk shows and stuff like that because that's what my friends were into. And there was this band that was looking for a bassist, and I absolutely did not play bass, but I like 100% told them that I did play bass. And the band was called the Dehydrated Perverts, and we just did basically, just kind of like late '90s hard rock covers, basically.
That is the
Um,
first time I ever heard Dehydrated Perverts in my entire life.
Really? You've never heard this story?
You've
But
never
that was
told me this
it. Like
story.
I was like joining that band was like my leverage point for like getting a bass. I got like a Squire P bass. And then guitar kind of naturally came afterwards, and as soon as I had a guitar and could put two or three chords together, just like the instinct to write songs and just kind of like I had always written and have always written, like poetry or just like the way that I'm feeling about things. And it was a very natural marriage for me to bring those two things together. I've had like ups and downs with it over the years. Like before we started this band, I had like this like 7 years of just like, almost like purposefully not doing this because you may have heard things like this before, but I created this like complex almost that like music was the problem. It's like the reason I can't find success or stability, and like the more I get into that creative or songwriting space, the more I'm dancing with my destructive habits, and I caught very much through this band and a lot very much through Scott's encouragement. He was just like, I think, like Scott was explaining before, he, in that COVID era, he was kind of like dealing with this just like massive life change where he couldn't play in these bands, this like kind of live performance culture that he had been fostering for so long. And then we're all cloistered and have nothing to do in such a limited sphere of people we're able to interact with and see. And I think he just, from a means of seeing just like an untapped natural resource, he was just like, you know, we I
When
you
I
know
was,
we got to make something
let's
up. But
keep,
like just to pivot, because I felt you kind of avoiding it earlier. Another big part of the piece and origin story of this band is that I was making that garage. That was my quarter life crisis garage. I was, you know, on a one-way train to divorce at that point in time. You know what I mean? So all of that complicated feeling and all of the things that I felt like I hadn't been doing, and I had this manic conviction to just like reclaim it all. And I took Scott on the journey with me, and he was just ready to.
it's It's true because, like back when I was in college, I through friends of mine in college, they knew you, Jesse, because he was also the bassist in a prog band called Tetragrammaton, and they were kind of legendary in the local scene because it was super math, just like really amazing fusion. And so you were on this, and so, years go by, and, yet, like I said, we were working together in 2017, but really in reality, I'm way up in Waltham, you're down in, Middleborough, and we couldn't make it work. I had aspirations and everything. I had my own, prog band that had no lyrics, that it just really wasn't my scene in 20, and like in hindsight. But the idea that once we got into there, and the idea that this man, Jesse, had never really been on a stage to sing his own music for the masses was borderline criminal. And rather than call the police, I was just like, you know what I mean? Like it's time to get in there. It's like this is insane. You have avoided this for so long. And frankly, part of it, and I get this, is the songwriting process can be tough, especially when your mind is in a tough place. It's super therapeutic, but it's also when you're in a darker place, it's like you're getting it all out, but it also brings your morale way down. So it's almost hard. We wrote songs in that garage that we like don't want to revisit. They're great songs, but
They're
we don't we
dark.
don't yeah, we don't want to like live in that space. You know what I mean? Like we don't want to be there. We're so much more exuberant right now. We're kind of like feeling, you know, I don't know, song wise. And so in terms of songwriting right now, I don't know if you're into Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit at all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
know.
just
I
like
know.
that.
I'll tell you how it is just I'll tell you how it is just
Howard
like that.
Shore is my muse.
That's true. But no, there's a scene, whatever. In The Hobbit, the guy, the dwarf is in the mountain that's filled with gold, and he's just like, he's looking around at all his gold, just like, but he's not going to do anything with it. Well, that's us with songs right now. We got so many songs. We have so much that we're just output, and it's wonderful, and it's getting out our emotions. But in reality, like we're just creating. We want to
Yeah,
get it out there, and so we keep calling it an embarrassment of riches. It is what it
yeah,
is. So we
feels
start to
good.
feel like that a little bit.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. Jesse, I will say this: where you were saying about like thinking like the art is the problem, right? Like that's like I lived that for so long with my writing, and I'm like, and I get so like frustrated, and now I look back and I'm mad at myself for being like that, right? Like for like
Yeah,
why
Yeah,
do the thing,
absolutely.
right? Just do the thing, get it out there, and like I've been able to do some cool stuff, and I'm just recently kind of falling into like I've written so much and I don't put anything out there. So it's like now I'm like at that point where I'm like, all right, dude, start putting this shit out there. Like you
I
gotta,
Yes.
know, I know.
yeah.
God. I
But
mean,
it's just
youth
like
is
it's don't you
wasted on the young.
struggle?
Yeah,
Don't you struggle with like or at least I do with like I don't know. Like this sounds so artsy, guys. So I'm sorry, but it's like mixing my motivations. Do you know what I mean? Where it's just like at the end of the day, if commercial success or monetization of this was never even a concept, right? I would still be compelled to do this. Like this is there's not an inroad to profitability for me. It would be nice, of course. I have delusions of grandeur, just like every stage seeker. I would love to be
of
adored by the
course.
masses. I think I would wear it well. No, but it's just more that like I feel driven to write and express myself, and you know, I think the back to the art is the problem thing. It was an indicator, right? What I would go through when I would write was an indicator, but it was not an indicator that art was the problem. It was an indicator that I wasn't dealing with my shit, like anytime I brought myself to a place of real authenticity, what would come out of me in that moment was something that I was not prepared for or to deal with, so that I would much rather, my classic move, right, back in those days in like the early 20s was like radical life change. Jesse's living in Florida now. Oh, really? Oh, when did that happen? Oh, he's
He was
my
I
my
remember.
roommate.
roommate.
He's my
He was my roommate
roommate. Yeah,
last
you can
week.
say, you know what I
Last
mean? Like, so
week,
that was
he's
that's me just not wanting to feel things. you know, like
We remember that time. It's
yeah,
true.
yeah, exactly. But
But to
we're doing the work.
to interject though, I will say, we've all had delusions of grandeur. We just want our music to be heard, but in reality, if you're talking about the journey being, there's no destination, us writing like this together and the three of us performing this even for ourselves together has become incredibly fulfilling. regardless, it's just like, us knowing this music is really good, feeling it's really good. It's very authentic. It's not coming from the darkest of places anymore because we're all in better headspaces now. And the action, the journey, it's not the destination. And we want to get out there. We want to, of course, every performer wants to feel that, feeding off the audience, of course. But in reality, like, we are our own audience as well. And what we have got, because yes, once again, youth is wasted on the young. Why the hell didn't we do all of this shit, like 10, 20 years ago when we're doing all this stuff? I'm spending all this time in a
But
band that I knew
right
wouldn't
now
make it
is
there.
right now is about forgetting all of that, though. That's where we are now. It's like
Exactly.
the
Forget
mantra. We
about it.
have this kind of like mantra where it's just like it's a
Yeah.
very much kind of like yes Andy kind of thing
Yeah.
that we're living in, where it's like, many songwriters will be like, oh, I was writing this song, but then I realized, it sounded, the chord structure was just like the chords of this one song I like, or like I've got like two or three notes of the hook, and then you get in your head and you start to feel like it's, derivative, and you decide not to write that song, right? You decide to just put it aside, and yeah, something better is going to come along. But like, we are operating under this kind of modus operandus where like every song, every time, because the only good thing you are ever going to write is not this one. You know what I mean? Like, like it's like the next three things, and like this thing right here, even it's like you're paying the toll for like what comes next. Just finish the thought, like,
Mm,
and that's we have found this great power in just like finishing the thought. Like a good example of that for us, if we wrote this song. Scott brought me a chord progression, and this has happened on more than one occasion now. Um, and we sat down with it, and within an hour and a half, we have this amazing song, Pirate Radio. It's just like one rehearsal, and I don't know how else how else to describe it, but like you've heard artists say this kind of thing before, where it's like I don't know that either Scott or I can take full responsibility, for that
yeah.
song. That we tapped into that collective consciousness that artists, that kind of interstitial space between where we all reside right now and where art lives, that we sometimes get to have access to. And when we are really meshing with one another and are really trusting one another and not letting any ego get in the way and are just open to every suggestion, we get to tap into that
Absolutely.
cookie jar and just, and yeah, it's ours. It's 100% ours. And we love that song. But at the same time, I feel like a little bit out of body in those kind of moments. And that's what I live for now, and I'll throw it to you after this last thought. I'm sorry, Scott, but
Sure.
like for years we were playing in jam bands, just like long form jam bands or like highly compositional jam bands. And and the reason we convinced ourselves that we were staying in those kind of artistic situations was because of the collective consciousness. This idea that you have these four musicians who are so in sync that they are spontaneously composing things that like none of them could do or recreate on their own. And but to find that here in pop rock song writing, and to feel that same sense of spontaneous creation and satisfaction is just like, for musicians like us, people, like me and Scott and Mark, like it's just the dream come true.
Hmm.
Absolutely. I mean, the yes and has become our mantra. We've gotten into positive manifestation a lot of just like, you don't say no. I mean, actually, Mark, maybe you can comment on like the songwriting process that you've seen from me and Jesse, because, you're a part of it too, and you contribute, and it's fantastic. But like, with me and Jesse just having, honed this craft for a few years now,
It's a
like,
very, very cool process to like watch right in front of you. It's a give and take, and like whatever the idea is, it's like it gets a little nuanced attention and it turns into something really, really nice,
That's
really
awesome.
beautiful.
it does, it shapes itself, and that's the whole thing. Is like, before you even think about it, he's like, well, what if we like tried it like this? I'm like, yeah, yeah. And like, let's just do that and see what happens. And even if you think in your core, because as a musician, especially if you really love the song, you're really defensive about it. You're really, you know what I mean? You want to keep it like this is, yeah, I can be, anyone can be, but I feel that. But no, when you trust the other person enough, it's no longer yours. You're happy to give it over. And for Jesse, oftentimes I will just come in with pieces. I'm like, I'm sorry. It's like walking in with a beautiful puzzle that I haven't put together yet. And I'm just like, here are all these pieces. I don't know what to do with them. They're all great, but like, what do I? And you know what I mean? And then Jesse's just like, and the biggest one was actually when we put together a song for my marriage. I got married about 6 months ago, and we wrote a song. I had all the pieces called I Do, and I know, cliche, right? But we had all the pieces, and this was like a truly magical moment. Like, holy shit, I cannot believe that this just happened. Jesse was just like, no, 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 that this the second half of this part, no, no, that needs to go right here, and this is going to go over there. But no, this switches to the behind, and it suddenly at the end of the session, I couldn't believe what we had, and I let him sing it to my wife on our wedding day. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I
Yeah.
He's
swear
a
to
better
God,
singer than
I wrote
Scott.
a lot of these lyrics, but like, I'm gonna let him. They're from my heart, but they're from his mouth, and you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, I do.
I do. Yeah. Yeah. He does. He does.
That's awesome.
But so when you get to that level of trust, which was built over time, and it really developed itself, once you get to that level, it's a gift. It's a gift to be able to know that whatever you have that you might be unsure of is in good hands when you put it into whatever small collective we have going here, and then it will sort itself out, and then you're going to have a product that you're really, I mean, just really, really, really proud of, just happy,
Mhm.
fulfilling,
That's
you
awesome.
know.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, do you guys record music? Like, are you guys self-recording, or
What you've seen on our social media is the extent to which we've recorded, and actually, it's like one of our big struggles of the moment right now is that for the first kind of 3 years that Scott and I were doing this together, just like a guitar, a piano, and a single vocalist in a room with a cell phone, it really works. You don't really need much more than that. But now we're running through a PA, and we've got this drum machine, and we've got a Moog, and we've got a Glockenspiel, and the sound is just, there's so much more. And so, you know, full disclosure, like prepping for this, we were like, we really wanted to create like a recording of like something that's like happening right now for us. You know what I mean? That we could present. And we ran into this challenge that like my phone just cannot handle the level of sound that's coming. So it's just clipping out the
Yeah.
whole time. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, no, we have not really properly recorded much, but it's actually the thing that is most, it's our next stop. It's like the thing that we really want to do because, like we were saying, even though there are mild delusions of grandeur, like the most important thing for us, I think, is to eventually be able to hold it, you know?
Yeah.
Mine are
And
not delusions.
No.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Thanks, man.
But it's true. That is our very next step, is into the recording studio, because we have so much music. I mean, it's funny. Jesse's always fixated on, well, that this is gonna be the one that's gonna be on the album. You know what I mean? It's like, and in my mind, I'm like, we have so many
You say
songs
that
right
every
now.
time.
I am crafting three simultaneous albums in my mind right now as we go. Like truly three, because that's how much music we have that's completed, just like absolute. So we just need to step forward. I've always been someone who's just like, I'm always creating, and music for me, as fulfilling as it is, I do want something to go on afterwards. Legacy comes into it a little bit, musical legacy.
oh yeah,
And,
creative,
of course,
just creative legacy, right? Like, you know
Yeah.
what I
exactly.
mean? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we need to record it properly.
It's,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Someone to bear witness.
that's what I'm saying. Like, we always, thinking we got to play out, we got to play out, we got to play out. But in reality, all your favorite music, you're just listening to what they went into the studio and recorded. You know what I mean? Like, go see them, and it's incredible.
So
You got
let's
to, Yeah, but fine. We're deciding right now that we're gonna head
Yeah,
into the
we're gonna go do
studio.
that.
Yeah,
We'll be back.
we'll be back.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. And it's one of those things too. Like, I know a lot of people. I know people who work. You know, they record music for people. I know people that like they record themselves. They you know what I mean. And I know people that recently took that step because like they didn't think it was going to sound properly if they did it. But like, there's so much out there, so many tools out there to record, right? Like it is like it's at our fingertips at all time, right? You just got
Yeah.
to have the right thing. And like, and because it costs money to go to a studio and record sometimes, right? So like, I know people that have, people send me demos from their phones, and I'm like, where did you record this? And they're like, oh, on my phone. Like, it's crazy
It's true.
what's out there for access for it. But what I say all that to say this, like, you know, I've seen basically everything you guys have or at least that I've discovered right through YouTube or on Facebook. And like, I'll get these clips of these songs that you guys write, and I'm like, I want the whole thing. I want a whole album. Like, there, is it? I'm really bad. Cleansed by the Fire, right? Is that?
Oh man.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Clean by the Fire.
That's
That's
clean by.
very new.
Jesse, when
That's
I was like, let me see this clip, and I clicked it, and you start singing, and I'm like, Jesse has the voice of an angel. Like,
yes, he does.
I
I
was
can
like,
corroborate that story. I can corroborate that. Yes.
and it sounds great. Like, and that's just a cell phone recording. You said,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it sounds. You know what I mean? So like, there are ways. So I guess what I'm saying is like, don't leave it out that like self-recording is not an option, right? Because like you
Right.
can do it. And even like, I know they record all their parts, right? They don't just record everything live. Like, each person records their part. And like, I mean, there's apps for our phone now that you can just like record through. It's insane. It's insane.
It's true.
And like, I don't know, from my perspective, like, I'm a music lover. I love all sorts of music. Like, I'm kind of known as like the punk guy, or like, you know, like, but like, I've listened to everything. Like, I remember, I don't know how many times I've told people, like, my first 3 shows I ever went to were all dance hall reggae. Like, when I was in high school. Like, I love music, you know, and I contributed a lot of that to my mother. My mother was big into like 80s freestyle, like, you know, like dance music, and like my stepfather was into like hair bands, and my father was into like classic rock. So, you know what I mean? So like, I had this, and my aunt like punk rock. So I had all these sounds coming at me at such a young age. So like, I love all sorts of stuff, but I was listening to you guys, and like through that, and I was blown away by it. And like, there's something to say, like, I'm all for if people want to like really dig into like a subgenre and be like, this is what we are kind of thing. But like, there's something just to hear good rock and roll. And like, I feel like you guys play good rock and roll, you know, and
You
it's
know,
like, it's a little
to that,
Americana. Sometimes it's got a little country to it, which is probably the Tennessee, right? The Tennessee in you, but like but it's
absolutely.
rock and roll music, and it sounds awesome. And like,
I'm so glad you said that, actually, because in reality, we were trying, we don't want to be one of, like, we almost were those people who are like, we're post rock, neo punk, whatever, with a flair of, but no, in reality, Jesse, like, even 2 weeks ago, which is like, I've been looking, I've just been thinking about it. We're rock and roll. We're in a rock and roll band. You know what I mean? Like, and rock and roll, like classic rock, all of the best recordings of all time, all of our favorite bands, the Led Zeppelins, the Pink Floyds, like everything. It's all literally like, it encompasses enough that that everything that we're doing is still falling under that pantheon, under that umbrella of rock and roll, because rock and roll goes there. It can be a little progressive. It can really, like, push genres a little bit, but in reality, yes, I accept that we are in a rock and roll band, and we still have a lot of room to go in whatever direction we want,
You know, it's funny that I love that you
Yes.
pick up on the country kind of root of it, because like, I've got this weird kind of background where I grew up this person where my mother lived in Texas and my dad lived in Massachusetts. So I would spend, 3, 4 months a year in Texas, and I learned how to play guitar from my Uncle Larry, and he's like, I don't know if you've spent a lot of time in Texas, but like not a lot of people around. The same people are partying with each other every night, every weekend, and the same guy brings out the guitar and is like the center of the party and sings the same stupid songs. And he had his handful of just like 5 party songs that he wrote. And I'm not saying necessarily like that style was an influence, but like definitely in the way that I approach the guitar, there's a little bit of in every song that you hear me play, whether we're kind of like approaching it from like a rock perspective, heavily rhythmic perspective, you hear me doing like these picking patterns that have pedal tones in them that are very reminiscent of roots music, in
Yeah.
some way or another. And I just love bringing that vibe of like, this like kind of sustained finger picked kind of thing on it, like acoustic kind of sound with like a shoegaze wash over it. Just like
Yeah.
wall of sound happening on top of it, or just like, whatever it is. I just find it so, interesting.
I think it goes without saying that when folk country Americana is breached, this is a Jesse song. I think that,
Yeah.
and it's great. I love it. I so love it. It is such a flavor that I would not have brought it to, but the marriage of those things, of all those aspects, has like created this stronghold, and it's really, really, really great. I love
One of
that.
the things I love about music, and like especially like I'm a huge I root for New England based bands a lot, and I do have majority of and like because it's again, people are like, oh, you're like the New England podcast guy. I'm like, no, man. Like I've talked to a band from I've talked to people from bands from South Korea, from Tennessee, from California, you know what I mean, from Seattle, like, and the thing is like I'm here, right, and I'm here, and like I was in my late teens, early 20s, I was really influenced by like listening, like going to a Boston punk show, and I'm like, wow, what is this? Like I Rancid was on the radio, Green Day was on the radio, and those bands are cool, but like I never really felt like it was my music. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you find that band or those or that sound that really sinks into like who you are, right? That was me going out and like going to a show, and then like the opening bands I was like that I'd never heard of. I'm like, whoa, these guys are great. Like, wow, I finally found something, and I hung on to that. But like my palette for what I want to listen to is so strange. Like it's so all over the place. So like I'm always telling people like get weird with it. Like Jesse, bring that trumpet back. Put that trumpet in a song. You know what I mean?
Right?
Like,
Yeah.
one of my favorite bands they have a clarinet player, and like there's a clarinet solo, and like before that it was I believe it was a fiddle player, and like that fiddle play so the solo for or maybe it was a violin, but with that solo went to the clarinet player when one exited and the other one came in, and I was like, this is insane. Like how do you hear this? Like I've listened to a band where it's like a punk band, and like there's a banjo player, and like the banjo, I have never ever heard a banjo make these sounds.
Yeah.
It's stuff
I
like
can
that.
only imagine.
Hell yeah. And like so when I hear you guys like, oh, we don't have a bass player, but like we get the tones out there, but like I've interviewed bands that there's only 2 people and they're both bass players. Like there's no
Yeah.
I've interviewed people where like I actually the 2 bass players and no one else. Like I've seen the thing, like I've someone with like the one I went and saw one band. It was like they're like one of my favorite bands, and I've never seen a full band with them. Like they have one, and they've had one in the past, but like I think the last time I saw them, it was the lead singer who was playing like a 12-string guitar, and then the drummer, and that was it. You know what I mean? So it's
You just
like,
got to work with what you have and commit to it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and,
I like hearing these stories.
Well,
tons of them.
But that's why more and more and more, our mission over the past year has been to, we don't really need more band members. We have all of these tools of it, like this drum machine that we bought. We don't just use pre-stock, drum loops. We record and loop our own beats with either Scott or Mark playing the beats, and then Mark now has this wonderful hybrid role where like he'll cue a beat and then he hops on the Moog to hold down the bass line, and then he's got a glockenspiel part in the chorus, and that's kind of to your point, Trev. We're trying to kind of like, recapture it. Mark, little backstory for Mark, but we all went to high school at the same high school, but he was in the concert band, but he played mallets. And so I always had it in my mind that the way that we would get Mark involved in this band was like getting him on mallets. It's just
I
like,
don't even know what that is. What is that? Like, I think of mallets, I think of like a hammer.
so
What is
mallets
we're
meaning
talking
like
about
like a xylophone or like a
yeah,
marimba,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
we've got
but
the
like a
classic little
small
German one. Yeah, glockenspiel.
Oh,
yeah, the small yeah, glockenspiel is a small, basically metal xylophone that just creates the high tones where you could just create just the melody that you will create on it will sail above any other sound in the song. And
when
it
we're
will,
Yeah.
you know what
done,
I mean?
when we're done with this, I am going to give you guys a list of bands to listen to that are all local, and like they all do stuff that like you're gonna be like, oh yeah, okay, like what
Oh,
I
hell
mean?
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Definitely,
So,
yes.
yeah, man, I don't know. There's like, what is that thing? I always forget the name of this thing. I think it's called an ocean drum,
Okay.
and
Oh, is
I
it
might
big and round and flat?
yes, and it like and you like kind of like
Yeah,
shake it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of like shift it around,
Oh,
absolutely.
the first time I heard that, like I was sitting, and this was at a punk show, and I'm sitting there, and I'm just kind of like I really literally thought I was back home on the ocean. Like I was like, this feels like I'm like, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm in I'm in Somerville right now. like what's
I
going on here?
I feel like this is kind of the age we're living in right now. Like there's no longer a conventional format. Like one of the
There's
only other
no rules.
bands that we really like interact with or know of too much is this band's Gordon's Law, and
Mhm.
Yeah,
they're a three-piece, just like a rock band as well, right? But their drummer doesn't play drums; he plays a cajon, a drum box that he sits on, and he's
yeah.
just like singing backup vocals while he's drumming on this box, and it's just like the sickest thing you've ever seen. And it's like, yeah, I think you're right. I got to bust
The
out the
only
We
trumpet.
I was gonna say there's no rules, but there's only one rule: don't be a piece of shit, right? Like
Yeah,
that's
yes.
exactly. Don't be a douche.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
yeah, yeah.
will. I was literally about to say we jump up on stage in the middle of Gordon's Law's song and be like, "Stop! Stop this! I'm not used to this. What convention are you going
Yeah.
for?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So
Oh man.
I did. You guys play shows though. You're right. You're going. You're playing out.
We are
We
we're
are.
trying.
Yeah.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem that we're facing right now. We
Tell them what
have,
the problem
especially
is.
me and I'll tell you what the problem is.
Yeah.
Me and especially me, and we have been in bands. I've been in, I can't count how many bands right now. I've played so many shows, but there's always someone in the band who's really good at getting shows.
Mm.
And Jesse's been in bands that like there's always someone who's just like, yeah, we got the we're playing this and that and the and
Yeah,
my
we're
only
the lazy
we're,
ones.
yeah, well, I mean, it's just like we don't. I mean, I don't know that it is true that there's a certain level of just like now suddenly all the people who were at the shows and will play them. And my biggest, worry was, well, am I free that day? But I didn't get the show. Now we're all lumped into the same band together and being like, God damn it, we gotta like get out there and play and play. Right now we're just writing. We're just like
Well, yeah.
rehearsing and
But we
rehearsing
do.
and
We
writing and writing.
Yeah, building up's playing.
we play open mics now and again.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, we're looking to book a VFW pretty soon. That's
Yeah,
our
no,
big project. It's
we're
going to be our
pushing
big coming out.
bringing Mark into the band this past year and reshaping the entire band by adding the whole drum aspect of it and other instruments and like what each song now becomes its own thing. Like now it is bass on the Moog for this chorus, but not on that song, just this one. And then like now he's playing at the very end. Like in this song he's just playing the end, like he's going for it. We're going to town and really like shoegaze, beautiful, wonderful, but only on this song and but not on this song. So we're really just shaping the entire set list right now and we're ready to hit the road with it. You know what I mean? We're ready to just like actually get out there. Once again, youth is wasted on the young. We're all adults here. Kick the door down of any venue and be like, why not? please, we're here. This is what we got.
Please.
You know what I mean? I'm not gonna say please.
Please.
You're gonna say please to me. You know what I mean?
No, but we're coming across all of those kind of like rookie mistakes you hear about, right? Well, we'll go into a place in like March, looking to book something for the summer, and they're like, "Sorry guys, we're booked out till like November."
Yeah, yeah,
Like
Yeah.
we're getting ourselves into the mindset that we got to be thinking like a year ahead
yeah.
on that kind of planning.
It's crazy how, like, I remember when things started opening up again after like the pandemic and everything, and like things were going, like people were booked out, 12, 13 months. You know what I mean? Like it was
Yeah.
just because like I think, well, especially I think in in Massachusetts here, like in Boston, the Boston area and stuff, like people were just itching to get back out and to play.
Yeah.
So
Of course.
and like in the talent buyers out there, like they're really a lot. Everyone I've met who does that is like they're really committed to like the music community, right? So they're trying to get like I had gotten a friend of mine hooked up with one of the bookers for a place out in Malden, and like I was like, hey, and I try not to like kind of like, like, hey, I'm friends with you and I'm friends with this guy, like, but I was like, hey, I think you might like this dude's music. And he loved it. And he's like, oh yeah. And they talked and they were like, I'm like, cool, they're gonna make something happen. And then like my buddy who's the artist, like he just kind of forgot about until it was like time, and then it was too late, right? So I actually was like, all right, we'll have a show at my house for you. He was traveling from from the like Appalachian Mountains of Tennessee area, so he was on tour, and I was like, all right, if as long as you're like good with it, like we'll have a show at my house for you. And he was like, all right, you know what I mean? And we had a blast that summer. Like it was an awesome show, so it's cool. Like it's one of those things where, with booking shows, like, yeah, you gotta get in early, or at least like start making contacts, and you know what I'm saying. So there's people out there though. You guys will be able to do that, I think.
Absolutely.
And I think going to open mics and then going just to go to some shows in general and just try to like, network with people like that. That's the one thing I'll say about like one of the reasons why I ride so hard for out here, like for the music in New England, is like I've like I said, late 90s, early 2000s, and like the community is just as strong as it was then and as it is now. And like these guys, and like and it's a lot of different players now, right? Like a lot of those other bands, they're or maybe they're doing other projects and they're still involved, but like I really see this as like this huge community. There's a lot of people doing good things, and like I don't know, like I again, like I love your guys' music, so like whatever I can do, whatever little help I can give, I'll be more than happy to. You know what I
Hey,
mean?
we'll take whatever help is offered.
I feel like this is a good step right here. I
No
think,
guy?
Yeah, exactly.
One or two. Yeah, I know. It's I think so. I like I said, like that's the biggest thing. Like a lot of people that I've met now is just from like being at shows, and I'm like, oh, and then someone introduces you to somebody else, and then you're like, oh, hi, and they're like, oh, you're that person. I'm like, oh yeah, and you're that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like I remember I met someone one time. I met Dave, this guy Dave Wells, and like when they were like, oh, have you met Dave? And I'm like, no. And he's like, oh, hi, I'm Dave. And I was like, oh no, I know who you are. Like it's like I know your music, like you know what I mean. So I get like it's, but I just love it here, and I think honestly, I think the music community is one of the reasons why I'm still in this cold ass weather. Like I left for a couple years, and I came back because like that's what I don't know. This is like, and I'm not even from Massachusetts originally, but Massachusetts is my home. Like, you know what I mean? To me, this is my home. Like,
where are you from originally?
I grew up in Rhode Island, not too far.
Okay,
like,
okay.
I was
Still
like
had access to that New England music scene, though.
Yeah, exactly. So, but like I lived in Tennessee for a time. I went to from Tennessee, I ended up in like right outside of Pittsburgh, and like, I give Pittsburgh a lot of shit, but like I got there right before a pandemic, so it was like it's not really Pittsburgh's fault, you know what I mean? And since then, I met some really nice people from there, but I came home and like I'm like, yeah, all right, this is it. And then the music here is just like I'd be in like, so I was in Lawrenceburg, Tennessee, right? Lawrence County, Tennessee. And I was like, I had like satellite radio, and like I remember hearing like a Boston band come on the satellite radio, and I was like, fuck yeah. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, I like kind of turned it up, put the windows down. I'm like, I want Tennessee to hear this, you know?
I love that.
So, yeah. So, but yeah, anyway, um, I, I think like, I think if you guys get out there, like people are gonna, people are gonna like your music. People are gonna like you
Well,
guys,
that
you
has
know?
been a thing that we've been thinking for so long. I mean, and to say that, like 10, 11, 12 years ago, I remember I went out to just a random show or two in Boston, and I remained close on Facebook to people I met at that one random show, that one random time 11 years ago. They like every post that I put up, and I was like, God damn, that's great.
Well, that
But
needs
it's
to be a
true.
real focus for us, which is like where there is a community that we could have access to that, that in many ways, we've let ourselves become estranged from. We don't,
Yeah,
it's almost embarrassing to say, but we don't really even know where it's happening anymore. Do you
yeah,
know what I'm saying? Like I feel so dated. Like I was like the Boston music scene guy back in the 2000s,
me
and
too.
you know.
Yeah,
Mhm.
me too.
And like the older we get, right, we feel like we're not allowed there anymore, right? Like,
I know.
but it's not true. It's I'm telling you, it's not
No,
true. And like they're out there, and they're all great, and I'm sure they would like, they would. I'm sure they would love you guys just as much as you love them. You know what I mean? So,
it's true. But
uh,
I think that we do know that we're sitting on, we've honed our craft enough that we know we're sitting on something that people will enjoy. We're
hell yeah,
taking people on a journey. Even a five song set is an emotional and musical journey that people just like enjoy. So it's just full enjoyment. Take them on a journey. Tell a story, and then come out on the other side. Just richer a little bit.
Yeah, and
So
we also we like to be a little more. I don't know exactly how to put it. Like there is messaging in our songs, right? But I personally like to be a little bit more obtuse. Um, I like, you know, I like kind of like I remember like recently hearing like Billy Corgan give like this interview that like he doesn't like to tell people what his songs are about because it means so much more when you've got all these different people and it means something to them. That's like so much more powerful. So like I like to write, song lyrics that are just kind of like in a way, like that song that you were talking about, that clean by the fire. It's like the first line of that is just like living in a bubble, feeling like a dust speck in your closet. I mean, who can't like one, what am I talking about? You know what I mean? It paints such like a visceral picture, right? But like, but it's a feeling, it's like a conceptual feeling that I think that most people can kind of like at some point in time. Have you struggled with feeling relevant? And it's like, I think it's like, I don't know, in my heart, I
every
think
day
there's
in
like,
my life, brother. Every
exactly
day.
but in my heart, there's a little bit more of like a Fred Rogers in me that's just like, tell me where it hurts, buddy. You know what I mean? Like, let's let the bad out.
we
Yeah.
talked about this. Fred Rogers has no place in this band.
Ah,
But it's true.
It's something that you said earlier, Scott, too. Like I wanted to touch on too, where you were saying like at this point, you guys are like writing like happier songs, kind of thing
Yeah,
going on. Like, hey, we need every emotion, right? It doesn't always have to be anger and sadness. Like I know bands that like I knew a band that they had plenty of anger albums, and then they were like, hey, life's in a good spot. Like if we make another angry album, it won't be true to how we're feeling right now, right? So they
right.
made a happy.
Exactly.
They kind of had to explain that to people, but like I
Yeah,
got it. Like
I
like hey,
totally get it.
we want every emotion, right? Like I
When we're thinking about shaping our album, like per se, because we have these songs, and the most important ones to us right now are going to make the first album. And I feel like we are thinking about that. Like even the other day, we have a song called "Room to Grow," which is, fairly new, and it's not a breakup song, but it was kind of motivated by something along that caliber, and but it doesn't really ring true to real life now. It's kind of like, and And I was just like, well, this is kind of a breakup song. It's kind of like a, and I don't know if it really like, rings to anything real now. And Jetsy was just like, no, this is like the lyrics are ambiguous and can, just apply to anyone in any scenario when you're talking about it. And I'm just like, you know what? If I take myself out of it, you're absolutely right. We don't need to have a, like the inside pamphlet of a book to describe what the song's about. You put it out there,
Yeah, and I
and
would say
that's the
that
magic.
we do kind of have like I would say there is kind of a unifying theme in all of our songs, which is like there's 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 always kind of a sense of coming out from under something, whether
Yeah,
it's a or coming into something, or
yeah,
maybe what I'm trying to say is it's very transition oriented, and like
oriented.
those spaces that you find yourself in when you're dealing with those big changes. Um, and I think that really resonates with us. Kind of we were joking about it earlier, but when you're 40, and I've got a 14-year-old and a 7-year-old, and you're dealing with things in your life like your teenager doesn't care at all. He loves you, of course, your kids love you, but like it's like all of a sudden you spent like the last 15 years of your life feeling like this like established adult, and then in the course of 5 years you're divorced and you have a teenager, and every foundational thing, and then that kind of like that room to grow idea is just like I kind of come from a family of uh kind of habitual reinventors. Like, so even in my current job, which is where I met you, Trev, like I came to chemistry, or like my profession, way later in life. Like this is
Mhm.
this is like my third or fourth iteration. And like my grandfather was the same way. He was a trucker, he was a salesman, he was a mechanic, he was like all these different things, and I kind of view it as a real. I struggled with it for a long time because there's this thing that there are some people in the world that seem to just have this really static sense of identity. Or at least they present this way, that they're who they are, their core principles, what they stand for is a monolith. It's
Mhm.
like it's not changeable. It's not, it will, it will erode with time, but like it's going to stay generally the same. Whereas I don't know that I have ever felt that sense in the 41 years that I've been on this earth, of
Mhm.
feeling a sense of confidence in what or who I am, or like whatever. It sounds, kind of pedantic or whatever, but like um I think that's I think that I think that's kind of not an uncommon thing among musicians, right? We're all
Yeah,
searchers. We're all kind of looking
yeah.
to understand the great why, the big or
Hmm.
whatever it is that we're all looking for. But
Yeah, all artists, I think, right? Like
That's right.
yeah. I kind of feel I feel what you're saying, because like I've the same kind of thing. Like I've done a billion different jobs, and like I had a business for 11 years, and like I thought that was like, all right, this is going good. Pandemic hit and things kind of went change, and then I got into the field that I'm in now, and like it's I like it a lot, but like I do sit there sometimes and I'm like, why couldn't I find this when I left high school in 1999? Why couldn't I?
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like why, and I look at people who've had that longevity and I'm jealous. Like I'm like, I wish, like I just, my brain doesn't like settle like that, you know what I mean? And not to say they're
yeah,
settling, but like, because if you find something like that, like a career that you're good at, and I mean, that's awesome. I wish I had that, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's tough, man. It's tough sometimes, but like
but
I
that's what
think,
this is, right, Trev? That's what
yeah.
this actually is, right? And like you're kind of leaning into it, where it's just like, there's that whole old adage, which is that you either live to work or you work to live, right?
Yeah.
And it's
yeah,
just like I think we kind of, maybe both of us fall in that second category, where like the job has to be stimulating enough that I don't want to like throw myself out a window, but at the
Hmm.
same time I really care that the check comes, and the security of knowing that I can fund my life is there, so that I can put all of my energy into this.
I'm trying.
Yeah, right.
I
That's hey,
I get that
we're
though,
here.
but
We're here.
you guys are talking about like, artists and musicians always like, on the search. And I get that because usually for us artists, the art itself is not paying the bills. So you got to do something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you have.
I was a middle school music teacher for 2 years, and
What
then
are you doing
suddenly
now?
I had to shift my entire self, and now me and Mark are roofers, taking over our father's roofing company. You know what I mean? I'm no longer Mr. Lyman. You know what I mean? It's just like,
But you know
like
what?
that's a
Since you joined Kevin Lyman Roofing, you there's more rehearsals. You know,
there is more
there's
rehearsals.
more band opportunities. You know,
Well,
you're the
I'm
boss.
searching for it more. I'm searching for it more. I'm no longer like in a room trying to inspire dozens and dozens of kids every single day with music all day, every day, which I was doing, which was incredibly fulfilling for me, leaving little searching outside of that, frankly.
Yeah,
So,
a little less exploring of your own creativity, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah,
No, I get that. I get that. And like
but
and like you were saying, but like, is this gonna pay the bills? No, but like, yeah, I'm at a point where like I know I still have to do this thing. Like with my with me in writing, right? Like I spent most of my 20s not writing because I was
yeah,
like, it's stupid. I'm not as good as these other prolific authors. We don't need what someone on this podcast once said. Well, we don't need that one. We need you. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like we already have that one. You don't need to be that
jeez.
one. You need to be who you are. And that makes sense. And I as much as I love doing this podcast and like it's it's a selfish thing. I first started this thing because I was uninspired as a writer and I wanted to interview artists. And I used to talk to all sorts, like, I mean, I'm getting back to that now, but like for when the very first type of these episodes, like I was talking to like chalk artists, from chalk artists to tattooists to musicians to
Just
writers, you know
anybody
what I mean?
engaging in the creative process.
Yeah, because
You know,
I needed that kickstart, and like and now I interview mostly music because like I kind of end up falling. It was a natural progression into this lane. Like I'm not a musician. I am not a musician. I can't write a song. Like that's been the whole running gag for me with this podcast. Is like once I learn, I'm out. Like it's over.
Mhm.
yeah.
But like my whole thing is like, but I'm selfish, right? I talk to the bands I like, you know what I mean? Like I do like when people reach out, I try to get back to everybody. We're at a point now where we have like a little bit of a waiting list. So, but like I try to like, I give everyone's music a fair shake, and if it's just not something that's resonating with me, like we don't do anything because
Yeah.
not I don't want to be like a jerk about it, but like I can't be disingenuous when like I might like the person, but like you know what I'm saying. But like if I don't like their music, like I can't just give them fake praise. You know what I'm saying.
Oh, I totally get it.
And I hate to saying that because like it kind of makes me sound like an asshole, but like there's a monthly show that we do where we each there's three of us and we all bring music recommendations. We all listen to these music recommendations and then we come with our honest opinion. Like, and we don't shit on nobody. Like, I understand. Like, I know when there's good music and I just don't like it. Like, it's just me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not that musician. It's like it's me. It doesn't resonate with me. And like, I think because music plays such a big part in like how my emotions like how I feel, like it's tough for me to be like I can talk to somebody because from a technical standpoint this thing is perfect, but if it's not something I resonate with, then I just can't
No,
do it.
it's so true because in music, especially, like authenticity reigns supreme. I don't care if you're using that's why, pop music, you're using the same four chord kind of structure, whatever. But, Jesse was saying this, a couple of weeks ago of just like, Scott, like all these chord progressions you're coming at me with, oftentimes, like you're using the same language that millions have used before you, the same chordal language in a way. But like, where we're coming from with it is just creating this authenticity that kind of transcends. I mean, you're reaching a peak that can actually resonate with people because we have enough of the technical language of music underneath our fingertips where you can fully express yourself however you're feeling. You just sit down. Oftentimes the best thing most of the songs that I'll write is because I was feeling a very specific way, and I decided to hit record on the very first thing that I sat down playing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It was the first thing that came out,
Right on.
and that's where, and then you chase that spark. It might shift over time, but you chase that spark down the rabbit hole, and the authenticity just reigns supreme through the song.
Hell
You
yeah.
know,
Hell yeah.
absolutely.
Hell yeah. All right, so listen, we're gonna wind this down. I want to ask, like, where can people find you guys? Where can they interact with you on social media? You don't have anything up like on like Spotify or Bandcamp, and I am gonna
Not
suggest
yet.
once you do, be sure to have a Bandcamp. Now this is my own. Again, I'm a selfish person, but if you're on everything else, I don't know why people don't use Bandcamp too, because someone's going to like your stuff and they're going to want to contribute to the band, and that's how you're going to get the most money for your music is through Bandcamp as opposed to just Apple Music or iTunes or Spotify. You're not going to, unless you like Fractions, Spotify isn't going to give you anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to really enjoy Fractions for someone to be like, I just want to be on Spotify. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to be on all of them. That's my one suggestion to you guys. And if you're on Bandcamp, I will purchase your music. So I just
fantastic.
That's
good to know.
Yeah, appreciate that. And that Bandcamp, we gotta Bandcamp and Spotify. We have to get there.
Yeah.
So,
as of now, we're
of
looking at Facebook and we're YouTube page. We are really building upon our YouTube page, and it is From the Stronghold. I mean, at From the Stronghold, one word, and
right.
And like we said, we are next step, like imminently, is we're taking, it could be any of 12 different songs and going into the studio, and that's just step one, is get this song recorded, full orchestration, everything that's in our mind, in our heart, that we know it should sound like if it's in its fullest capacity, and then we're going to go from there.
Oh yeah.
And that's it. And then we're going to go song 2, song 3, and then suddenly the first of what I'm sure will be many, many albums will be done and complete.
Good.
I mean?
Good. Now I'm going to say this. I am going to hold you guys to that. Now I want you to come back. I want you guys, when you get an album, whether it's an LP or an EP, or if you're releasing a couple singles, let's come back. Let's talk about it. Let's get it out there. Let's keep going with it. Because like I said, I really do enjoy your guys' stuff, and the masses need to hear it. The rest of the people who listen, the
super glad to hear it.
Yeah, I know. You guys are there. You guys just gotta get in the studio. And that's easier said than done, like I said, because it costs money to go to a studio. But
but we're ready.
Yeah,
we don't give a shit what it costs at this point. We're going in, we're kicking down the door, and we hope that the guy won't take it too badly when we do that. And then we'll record a great song.
Awesome. And so listen, like I said, the door's always open when you guys are ready for all that. Let's do this again. Let's run it back. We'll go.
Yeah,
we
look forward to it.
So,
we'll take you up on it.
All right,
absolutely.
Good. Better. And Jesse, I see you a lot, so
yeah.
We'll keep on you.
Right.
So. But
we'll keep talking. We'll keep talking.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys coming on and talking with me, and
pleasure
getting to know you guys, because like I said, and let me know if you guys have any shows like when you do start doing some shows out there, because I'd love to come check one out. So
you're on the short list. You are on the.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say very short list, but you are on the short list.
Right on. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right. Thanks, Trev.
You.